And we're on. Well, good day to you, whatever time of day and wherever this finds you. The purpose of this video is to show you what we're looking for our research project for confirmation. And so I invite you, if you don't have it handy, grab the sendout that we sent to you that has all the details of it, and do your best to follow along. So you'll see that we're looking for you and your student to pick a book of the Bible off of that list from the Old Testament, or a person off of that list. And so, as we stated in that introduction, because our Zoom classes are only a half hour each for each grade level, we want to have an opportunity to add some more, and so we're asking you to do those research projects, and they will be presented in class, and that'll be a way that we can add more um, information in our limited time frame together. So again, we're looking for a research project on a person in the Old Testament or an Old Testament book of the Bible. And we're looking for a 5 to 7 minute oral presentation, talk about what you learned, and then if you'd like to add a PowerPoint, or some kind of visual, you are more than welcome to do that. You can do it live in Zoom, or you can make a video like I'm doing right here. So let me screen share with you and we'll get started. So we would like you to have at least 3 sources. Your Lutheran Study Bible counts as a source. Please use that as one of your sources, because if you do a research report on a person or book of the Bible and you don't use the Bible, that seems like a bit of a mistake. So when you're looking at websites, make sure that they're a good source. Usually, if it ends in .gov, .org, or .edu, that's better than .com. Please don't use Wikipedia. It's not a reliable source, because you and I can go edit the information. So I could go on to like Genesis and I could say that Quentin joined Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and that's not accurate information, and so we'd hate to have you reporting on accurate information, or inaccurate, excuse me. Books are great. Pastor Don and I have whole libraries full of them, and the church has a library that you can look at. You can check out the school library. I highly doubt that'll be beneficial, but go ahead and try and let me know how that works. And then the public library might be able to help you as well. But Pastor Don and I would love to help you as much as we can. We both have libraries full. I'll show you a couple of those in a hot second here. For websites, this is a list that I have. You might want to pause the video right now and screen share it, or screenshot it. And those are 4 that I found that are pretty decent, with some hints on how to best navigate them. And then we go down to books. Like I said, please use your Bible as one of your sources. That is going to be a really effective way to do it. Commentaries are, I have a whole library full of them, a couple different collections. That'll help you for the one story that you have to share. And what commentaries are seminary professors, so people that teach pastors how to be pastors, have written about like what this story means to them, what this story means to us as Christians. And so I have a whole library collection of them, and I know Pastor Don does as well. We would love to get those to you, either in book form or in email form, so that you can use those. So those would be a great. The Bible dictionary, I'm going to show you that in a second. That is just like any other dictionary, except for it's all Bible terms. So if you have King David, you can flip open to David. I'll tell you all about King David. So with these books, you'll see my contact information on the right. Please give me a couple days ahead of time, or Pastor Don, maybe even more than that, a week ahead of time, for what we're doing, or what you want from us. So let's say that you do choose King David, and you could send me an email, send me a quick text, or send me a message on Instagram and said, "Hey Q, I am doing something on King David. Could you please email me the section from the Bible dictionary?" And I would love to do that, but just give me a couple days heads up. I also work full time at the church, so got a lot of stuff going on there. I'd love to help you, but I just want to make sure that I have enough time. So if you plan to do it on the weekend, maybe email me or get a hold of me on Tuesday or Wednesday so that I have a couple days to get it to you. And I will do my best to help you. I want you to be super successful and try to have fun with this. So I want to make this as easy as I can. Let me switch back and I'll show you what I mean by this dictionary. Boop. So this is the Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible, and I actually used that as one of my sources for this example that I'm going to show you. It was great. I even learned something, even though I have a degree in religion, so it's very helpful. The other thing that's going to be super helpful for you is if you do choose to do a book of the Bible, your Lutheran Study Bible that you should all have. If you don't have it, please contact us immediately and get one, because they are free to you as part of our confirmation program. But you'll see that at the front of every book of the Bible, there is 2 or 3 pages that show you what's up with that book, and so it'll tell you some background and it'll tell you all about the story. So if you do choose to do a book instead of a person, this is going to be an awesome start to your learning. Other than that, use those websites, and then please use some kind of a sources used, works cited, either slide on your PowerPoint or write them down on a notebook piece of paper and show us at the screen for your presentation. That way we know that you used 3 sources, because when we do that as researchers, we need to show our sources. Otherwise, it's called plagiarism, and you can go to jail for that, or you can get kicked out of college for that. I had some friends that they didn't get kicked out, but they got in trouble. So make sure that we want to teach you those good practices and have good ethical research, and so that we have to show our work cited. And so like you'll see on my PowerPoint slide, if you, for the works cited, just tell us like the title of the book, maybe a chapter, and then a page number. So like later I'll cite the Genesis, and so I said Lutheran Study Bible, Genesis chapters 2 and 3 in the verses, and then the page number, so that if I really want to, I can go back and look on your and see and make sure that you used accurate information. A sip of apple juice before we continue. So let's get started. At this point in the video, you can either watch both of them, or you can fast forward to the one that you're going to do. So I'm going to give you the sample on both Adam and Genesis, the book of Genesis and Adam the person. I think I will start with the book, and so if you're doing a person, you can just fast forward right through this. So I am going to switch back to my share screen and we will continue. So like we said, we are looking for a 5 to 7 minute presentation. I'll go and start my slideshow, and I'm going to, forgive me, I'm going to pull up my timer so that I stay within 5 to 7 minutes, just to be as accurate as possible. One moment with that, please. Alright, I got my stopwatch and we are going to begin. So this is Genesis, and I subtitled it Oopsies and Forgiveness, because all throughout the Old Testament and all throughout our Bible, and even in Genesis, humans have a thing that we make mistakes, we go against God's wishes, and then God shows us God's forgiveness, and it just continues like that. So you can put your name, you can put what grade you're in, and that. So Genesis, the overview, it's the first book of the Bible. It's part of the law section. It literally means in the beginning, and Genesis has 50 chapters. And as part of Genesis, it's a lot of people break it into 2 or 4 parts. If you break it up into 2 parts, you combine part 1 and that's part 1, and then part 2, 3, and 4 are that. And so I broke it up into 4 parts. The first part is the creation story, and that is that God made humans and the earth and everything on the earth in 6 days, and God called them good, and then God rested on the 7th day. Part 2 is the story of Abraham and Sarah, and we hear all about these stories. God makes a promise with them that they will be fruitful and multiply, that all of us as Christians, we believe that we are all descendants of Abraham and Sarah, and that all started in part 2 of Genesis, chapters 11 through about 25. From there, we have the story of Jacob, and so stories like when Jacob wrestles, or when Jacob wrestles with God, and then there's also the story of Jacob and his brother Esau, and they're fighting for their dad's blessing. That's a pretty interesting story to check out. And then part 4, Jacob's sons, especially Joseph, and that's the story of Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat, the musical that we hear a lot about, actually is biblical, and it comes from Joseph. And it's a story about Joseph's brothers just kicking him out. And they said, go! And Joseph said, uh-oh. And so Joseph gets kicked off into Egypt, and he rises to power with Pharaoh, and he saves them from famine. And it's an amazing story of love and forgiveness, and God using people that are in a tough situation to benefit many. Great story there. So, characters in Genesis. As you can see, we wanted you to have 3 different characters so that we can kind of get an idea of what's going on in your book that you choose to report on. So Eve is the wife of Adam. She is made from Adam's rib, and she's most famous for the story of the Garden of Eden. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Abraham, originally named Abram, was called by God. He marries Sarah, and he's known a lot as Father Abraham, and there's a cute Sunday school song to go with that. Joseph, he is the son of Jacob, has multiple brothers who sell him into slavery, and he's saved a group of people from famine by advising Pharaoh. So 3 great leaders in this story from 3 different parts that give you a picture of God having creation, and then God using all these people to change the world for the good. So we ask you to provide 1 story for us, and then as part of that story, tell us what it's all about. If you'd like to open your Bible and have that for reference so you can check on a couple different things, you can do that. So I'm going to open mine so that I don't misquote the Bible, and I make sure all my facts are straight in the story. So God made the earth, God made all these great things, and God made humankind. He made Adam. I'm sorry. So God makes Adam, and God puts Adam in the Garden of Eden and says, here you are, here is animals, and here is everything you need to survive. And then Adam gets kind of going, and he feels kind of lonely, and God realizes, people need people to interact with. And so God puts Adam into... I'm going off on the wrong story. I'm going to have to edit this or something. So that's the story for Adam. This story is the flood. So from Genesis 6 through 9. I am so sorry. So this is the flood. And then also known as Noah's Ark. We see it a lot in Sunday school. And it's a great story to learn in Sunday school, but they kind of dumb it down and they forget about like the first 2 chapters. And what really happens in this story is, if you read it, I'm not making any of this up, is that God is so mad at people because they keep screwing up, like the story of the Garden of Eden, and like Cain and Abel, who have the first murder. And so it's all these bad things, and God says, oh, okay, I'm done. Everybody's going away. We're going to start over. And so God sees Noah. God saves Noah and his family, and he says, Noah, build an ark. And so Noah does that, and he saves 2 of every animal and saves Noah's family. And it rains for 40 days and nights. And so, fun fact, in Sunday school, we learn that it rains for 40 days and nights, and then they go back to land, which is true, but they also cut out the part about, it was 40 days and nights of rain, and then about 3 months or more for it to dry up. And so, can you imagine being on an ark for 3 months with 2 of every animal that stink? Yeah, not so much fun. And so the flood ends, and Noah, to see if the land is dry, sends out a dove. And the first time he sends out a dove, the dove comes back. And that means that there was no land. And the second time he sends them out, the dove doesn't come back. So there is land, they go. And so what we learned from this story is that God this promise that God gives us with the rainbow, that God says, "Ooh, this was a bad idea. I shouldn't have wiped out all of creation. I promise you that I will not do that." And that's one of the huge promises that we see in Genesis, is that every time you see a rainbow, that this is a reminder that God will not wipe out creation. God will not purposely destroy all of creation ever again. God did that once. That was not a great idea, and so we do that. So that's an amazing story in Genesis, one that we are all familiar with, but in your presentation you can dive a little bit deeper, just like I did. And so what we learn is that God forgives us all, that, you know, we make these great mistakes, like doing all these bad things, and yet God says, "I love you and I forgive you." And then we also learn about the covenant, or the promise. That's another word for covenant, is a promise, that God says, "Here's this rainbow as a reminder that I will not do these things." And so God forgives us, and even though we do all these terrible things, and yet God is with us, and God loves us for all, for who we are, and we are made in God's image. And so we have that promise with the rainbow. And these are my sources, as you can see. If you're using your study Bible, tell me like the overview, give us the page. And then if you're using a website, just copy and paste the URL. That's all you got to do for this project, just like these two. And then the commentaries, if you can put a page number on that. I forgot, I'm sorry. So that is the book example of doing a book in the Old Testament. Here is a person, and I will have the correct story this time. So here is Adam. And I titled this Husband and Sinner. I'm a huge fan of cute subtitles, so I did that. So Adam, we ask you, a lot of people in the Old Testament are kings or prophets or judge, and Adam is none of those. He's very significant, though. He was the first human created by God in the creation story. So God made animals and the birds of the air and the birds of the ground and the land and the sea, and then God made Adam. And so in the creation story, we are told that Adam's wife Eve was created from his rib. God puts Adam in a deep sleep and makes a companion. So Adam is found in the book of Genesis. He's in the first part. He's briefly mentioned in Chronicles, First Chronicles, but that is just for genealogy's sake. The author says, well, Adam was in Genesis and he did these things, but that's about it. So Adam's shining moment is in the first 10 or so chapters of Genesis. And so Adam is Hebrew, and Hebrew it's pronounced Adam. So Adam is both a name and refers to all humankind in the Old Testament. And so if you were to look at the original Hebrew, each time it's used, you'd have to figure out whether it's referring to the person or the whole people. And because of that, the word Adam is used over 500 times in Genesis. So that's a cool fun fact. Adam's not so shining moment. This is the story that I briefly ran into earlier. And so this is the Garden of Eden story. And so God gave Adam the Garden of Eden, and he said, here is a garden, please use it. Here's some animals. And so after a while, God realized that Adam needed companionship. He needed someone to spend life with. So God gave him Eve. He put Adam into a deep sleep, and the Bible tells us in chapters 2 and 3 that Eve was made from Adam's rib. They are made to be together. God created people to be in relationship with each other and to be in relationship with God. And thus we have Adam and Eve. And so after they were together, God said, here, Eve, this is Adam, you are to be and live in the Garden of Eden. You can eat anything you want except for the tree of knowledge. The fruit of knowledge. Do not eat the fruit from that tree. And then, of course, we learn in Sunday school that the serpent, which some people equate that or put that in place of Satan, and comes in, and the serpent comes and tricks Eve into eating the fruit of knowledge, and then they realize that after they have eaten that fruit, that they are naked, and they realize that that's bad, and so they have shame and they try to make clothes, and then God comes back, and God says to Adam and Eve, "Why do you have clothes on?" And Adam and Eve get into trouble with God, and God punishes them by kicking them out of the Garden of Eden. And he says, because of these two, that the things that they did, women will experience pain in childbirth, and men will have to work the land and sweat all of their days. And so they do these things, yet God is with them and God protects them all throughout their time, but yet still God kicked them out of the Garden of Eden. And so, what does this teach us about God? That is one of the big questions that we want to learn from your story. And from this story, we learn that humans have this this part about them that no matter what they do, they sin, and then God offers God's forgiveness. It's this endless cycle through Genesis and through the Old Testament, and Jesus shows forgiveness in the New Testament that people screw up. God says, "I love you." Life goes on for a little bit. People screw up. God says, "I love you." Life goes back to normal. And it's just a cycle that goes and goes and goes and goes. And so we'll see that throughout our time together this fall, especially in the Old Testament. And so we also learn that God will protect us and care for us, even if we screw up, that God forgives us and God loves us, and that God is with us, and that it might not look the way we want, but that God is always with us. And so those are the things that the story we can learn about from the Garden of Eden. These are my sources. Like I said, make sure you have your chapter and your page number. And this is an example of what it might look like if you get from a source from me from, whoopsies, sorry about that. A source from me from the New Interpreter's Dictionary of the Bible that I showed you. So you'll say Adam, and then the pages, and then another example of just copy and paste a Google, something you find on the internet. Just copy and paste the link there so that I can go back and look at it if I so desire. Alrighty, let me flip back to me. Thank you for joining me for this video. I hope it helped. As I said on the, or as we said on the handout, if you need absolutely anything, please, please, please contact us. We'd love to help and make this a joyful experience for all. We'd love to help you out in the best way that we can. A note about PowerPoint, like you saw me by my example, 3 to 4 bullet points per slide, and make sure it's large enough for us to read as you present it. If you have more than that on a slide, it gets a little busy and you lose the meaning. So use your PowerPoint as a guide and not as your main focus. So I hope I showed that. Thank you all for your time and talents. We hope to see you on Zoom very shortly. God bless you and be well.